Welcome back to Planet Boss. Yes, this crazy mind. Just the fact that I can do this. Try this. You think it's easy? One goes forward, the other one goes backwards. Yes, that's what my mind is all about. Now this time we're going to talk about fighting. And what I want to do is I want to talk about my fights and what I was thinking, what happened around that fight. And we're going to break it down. We're going to start with fight number one. But before we do that, I would like you to know how I got into mixed martial arts, because that's a whole different story as well. All right, so here we go. How did I get into free fighting? That's what they used to call it. The term mixed martial arts wasn't there yet. It was called free fight or no holds barred fighting. All these cool little sayings that they had about fighting. So I used to do these crazy shows at home. Like for instance, we go to a nightclub and at midnight the music goes down, everything turns black, and then suddenly the music starts pumping, and then a buddy and myself, we would come up in our spandex and pumped up bodies, and we start doing these choreographed fights with sticks, with nunchucks, with kicking cigarettes out of the mouth. We made it very high elite. Like I would kick him in the gut, he would grab my hand, my foot, throw me backwards. I would make a spinning somersault backwards while I kick him in the face. Some cool stuff we would do, and that suddenly started to go over very well with the Dutch audience. So we got invited to more nightclubs, and suddenly we start doing it at Thai boxing events. In the break we would do the show, and the way we would come up was like backflip, pop, 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 and then make a somersault, and then we would go into the ring and we did our demonstration. Now on one of these shows, Chris Dolman was there, and Chris Dolman is kind of the godfather from free fighting at the time, mixed martial arts in Holland. And he stopped me and he said, "Hey boss, I see you doing all these crazy moves and the acrobatic things. I remember you from Thai boxing. You were an animal. I think that the sport that we have in Japan right now, free fighting, it's what they call it, is perfect for you." And I go, "What is it?" And he said, it's a combination of everything. You got judo, you got sambo, you got jiu-jitsu, you got wrestling, you got fighting, striking, everything kind of put together, and they call it free fight." I go, "Oh, sign me up." So I went over to his gym a few times, but it's far away. I live in the south of Holland, in Eindhoven, that's the name. And he's in the north in Amsterdam. So that drive is like, especially when there's traffic, it's 2.5 hours to go there. So for me, in Holland, 2.5 hours, it's a long time. Like here, 2.5 hours, everybody's used to it. In Holland, it's a little tiny country. You have to understand, from the top to bottom of Holland, that's 200 miles. So it's a very tiny country. Anyway, I would go there one time, and sometimes no people would show up, and then I got an injury, and it didn't really work out. But then one day, the telephone rings. Oh, before I say that, actually, I should go into something else. I met my wife in February 1992, and this was way before everything started, right? And she sits at home one day, and she has this really blank stare on her face. I go, "What are you thinking about?" And she looks at me, she goes, "You're going to be a famous fighter in Japan." And I go, "What do you mean?" I said I was never going to fight again. And I will go into that story a little bit later. I said I was never going to fight again. And she said, "Yes, you said, but you said you were never going to fight in Holland again. But you're going to go to Japan." And I thought, whatever. So this is February 1992. So more than a year later, I believe in around May or June 1993, I get a phone call. And it's Chris Dolman. And normally I never picked up my phone, and my answering machine was broke. This was during the day. Somehow something told me to pick up the phone. I pick up the phone, and he says, "Boss, this is Chris, you got to go to Amsterdam." I go, "Why?" He says, "There's this new organization called Pancras, and 2 fighters are here who are the top fighters in that organization, and they're looking for new talent. And I think with your athletic abilities, I think you can do really well with this. So come to Amsterdam right now." So I'm jumping in the car, I'm driving over, and I started training there. Now they wanted to see a spar on camera. And I was sparring with one of his champions. He was from the organization Rings in Japan, right? They were already doing it before Pancras. And this guy started going really hard against me. I said, "Hey dude, tone down. We don't need to go hard. You know, they just want to see technique, but there's no reason for trying to knock each other out." And I think that he thought I was afraid or something, because he kept doing it. So I stopped him again, and I go, "Dude, I'm okay with it, but it's not going to be one-way traffic. You understand that, right? I'm going to do it back if you keep going." So now, of course, now it was a fight. And immediately he came out of the corner, started fighting hard, and I knocked him out with a high kick. Looked very cool. Boom, in the head. He had a whole, a big cut here, so he needed to go to the hospital to get some stitches. But that was it. those two fighters there, Funaki and Suzuki, they were pointing at me and they said, we want him. Another reason, by the way, they wanted me, this is the weirdest reason I've ever heard, is that I used to be able to jump over the top rope of the ring. So I would stand outside the ring and I would jump over there just from standing still over there. And they thought it was so impressive. That was one of the reasons they got me as well, they told me later. Really weird. Anyway, like I'm going to jump like that in a fight, right? Who's doing that? So that was it. Suddenly I was in. Now, when is the fight? And it was September 21st, 1993. It was the very first fight over in Japan. I didn't know anything about mixed martial arts or free fighting at the time. I knew it was a mixture, but there were no real rules. I don't know the round system, weight classes. I had no clue what I was going to get myself into. So now I've never been outside the country by plane. Like for instance, my town, if we go to Paris, that's a 4-hour car drive, right? So you drive, you don't take a plane. This was a plane ride, 13 hours. 13 hours to Japan. So I came there and I can't sleep on a plane, and I was already very aggravated because, you know, I didn't sleep, I couldn't eat that well because of the jet lag, and I arrived there. Now, this was a very small organization because they just started. So what they, I needed to be checked in at 3 o'clock, but we arrived at 9 o'clock in the morning. Now, at 11 o'clock we were already in Tokyo, but they didn't want me to check in because that was going to cost them extra money. And there was no money because it was a new organization. But I didn't know that. So they were acting as if it was very busy with the traffic. But I'm not crazy. I'm driving around, and I said, man, we passed this already. And then we passed that same thing again. I go to the guy and said, dude, go to the hotel. I need to go to the hotel. This is important. And he started driving again, and suddenly he stands still, like acting like he's waiting in line for other cars. All the cars were parked. So I start getting angry. I said, dude, I want to go to the hotel right now. And then he made another mistake, passed the same thing again, and I got angry and I grabbed him by the throat from the back. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. I grabbed him by the throat, he stops his car, he stops the car, and I go, let me out of this car! And he opens the door and I'm walking outside. Oh no, first of all, I'm headbutting something that's in the middle, there's a console, but it was like with a carpet. There was not something that you could open, and I'm headbutting it because I guess I was so crazy angry that I headbutted it. No, some little metal thing stuck out of it, and right on my forehead, and it started bleeding. And now I'm looking at my manager, I go, please don't tell me this is a big cut. He says, no, don't worry, it's a little cut. And I'm going outside, I'm on the street, I'm screaming, and everybody's looking at me, and it drove me insane. So I go back to the guy and I say, listen, we're going to be in our hotel right now within an hour and 10 minutes. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. And what do you know? Within 5 minutes, we were at our hotel. Now, I always laugh about the hotel because it's called the Tokyo Green Hotel. If you ever go to Tokyo, then you have the Tokyo Dome and the Tokyo Dome Hotel, which is a large hotel, the giant thing. Across the Tokyo Dome Hotel, there's the Tokyo Green Hotel. If you ever go there, highly suggest go check out those rooms over there. The bed is a really tiny bed. Your feet are sticking over. I actually put a chair on the other side so my feet could lean on the chair. This was the closet. I made a picture. This white was my closet. I could hang like 4 t-shirts. I made a picture like this. I go, look at to my wife. I said, look at this. This is my complete closet. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. First fight starts. Now, the day before the first fight, I thought it was weird because there was no weigh-ins. And I go, that's kind of weird, right? Why is there no weigh-ins? Oh, you know what, boss? I'm fighting a Japanese guy, and Japanese people are known to be very truthful, you know, honest. So it'll be okay. By the way, what fight weight did we talk about? That's weird. I don't even know if we talked about a fight weight. Okay, whatever. So the next day we go to the fight. I'm arriving at the event, and this tall guy walks up to me and he introduces himself. So I tell him, I say, oh, so you're the promoter? And he goes, no, I'm fighting you tonight. I say, you're fighting me? He's like 6'3", and I'm 6 feet. I go, what's your weight? And I remember it was like 28 or 32 pounds heavier than I was. And I go, oh, but of course I didn't want to show anything, so I was just smiling. Oh, great. And then the promoter walked up. He says, Mr. Rutte. I said, oh, you're the promoter, yeah. I said, listen, he's like way heavier than I am. Is that okay? He says, oh, no, we don't have any weight classes here. Everybody fights everybody. It's an open weight class. I go, oh, great. And I tried to force a smile. And I said, oh, before you leave, I said, how many rounds are we fighting? He says, 1 round. I go, 1 round? How many minutes? And he goes, 30. I go, excuse me, 30 minutes. 3-0. So you have to understand, and in Thai boxing, I was this crazy freaking animal, and not in a good way. We always talk about dojo fighters and fighters who can fight under pressure. I was a dojo fighter. With a dojo fighter, what that means is that I excelled in training. But you put me under pressure, then my skills wouldn't really come out. Now, I was always blessed with freaking genetics, so 9 of my Thai boxing matches, all the first round, except one was the second round, I knocked everybody out. But if I would fight a really good guy, that would be a big problem for me. But I wasn't fighting A-class fighters yet. So it was okay, but I didn't have myself under control. I was just a very angry guy and just start mowing, trying to knock him out as fast as I could. Because I guess it's the nerves, you know, you want to get it over with, It's very hard to control your nerves out there. Now in Japan, suddenly, that completely changed. I think it is because of the 30-minute rounds. I think it's because of the weight difference, which was at least 28 pounds heavier. I think it was even 32 or something like that. And I think it was also because the audience in Japan is completely quiet. It's very eerie. You saw the fights with COVID, right? The UFC, for instance, with no audience. That's exactly how it is. So you can literally, this voice that I have right now, somebody in the 25th row can understand everything perfectly what I say. That's how quiet it is. You can hear a pin drop. It's wild. But if you hit somebody and he goes down, wow, everybody goes up, and then it's calmed down again. So I'm coming up with this fight. First of all, I didn't know it was me they called up. They go, Batsu, and I'm standing there and I'm waiting, and then these people come, you gotta go. I said, what do you mean? They just announced your name. I said, well, that was me? Yeah, that was you. Okay. So I started walking, and people are embracing me. People are cheering for me. I'm there to fight a Japanese guy. You do this in Holland as a foreigner. You come in and you try to fight a Dutch guy. Dude, you're going to get some boos. That's what's going to happen. Not there. They were very nice. So I'm getting inside the ring. This guy gets in there, and he was tall, right? So I'm relaxing, try to be Mr. Cool Guy. And somehow, I don't know what happened. I was just telling my buddy as well. I said, when I was fighting for the very first time in Japan, it blew me away. While I'm fighting, I'm thinking, what is going on? What is going on? I was so in control. I heard people who spoke English. I knew what they were talking about. Literally after the fight, I would tell them what they were saying. They go, did you hear us? I could understand everything. Somehow I zipped into my corner. I could hear everything they said. And the only thing they would say to me always, that was the command that I gave him. I say, if he hits me, shout at me, stay calm, because I'm a hothead, you know. And if I get hit, I go, I want to pay you back right away. I can't lose control, because if I cannot put him away the first 1.5 minutes, I got 28.5 more minutes to go. That's going to be a problem. But I'm calm and relaxed and everything is working. And suddenly I give him a high kick. And as soon as I put my foot down, I come forward and I palm strike him. Now, since he was much taller than I was right underneath the jaw, and the guy goes down. There's an 8 count. And now the weirdest thing happened ever. And trust me, I didn't plan this. I had no clue what I was doing, but it happened. This is a true story. So normally, because if there's an 8 count, what happens if you drop somebody, you run to your corner, right? Because once you hit your corner, that's when they start counting. So the faster you are in your corner, the less time to recoup you give your opponent. But another voice was talking to me. I had these 2 voices. One voice said, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And the other voice was telling me, stay down. Relax, don't hurry. It was really weird. It was like 2 people talking to me. And then one voice, there was the dominant voice, the calm voice. And he says, don't run to the corner. Give him a look. And you will see this during the fight. I drop him, and my one voice tells me to run to the corner, and the other one says no, because I saw his eyes were open. So what I did, I thought was way more intimidating. I just stood still. I gave him a beat. I looked at him. And then I turned around and I started walking very slowly to my corner. Now that one voice is talking to me, run. The other voice is telling me, go slow. And I'm turning around in my corner, I'm looking like this, like whatever. And I'm just looking at him the whole time. Somehow to me, that was the voice was telling me, that was way more imposing on my opponent. He would think, oh my God, this guy really doesn't care. He gives me all the time to recoup. I mean, he must be very secure about himself. So I don't know how it happened. It was not planned. It just happened. It was really weird. He got up. And now I had to, of course, wrap it up. Now, since I knocked him out to the head, His hands were here. So what did I do? Of course, the liver kick, here it comes. As hard as I could, I went to the body, his hands dropped, immediately I punched him again, and now he fell down. And while he fell down, I kneed him in the face. Boy, the guy goes down, I'm freaking excited. I start jumping up in the splits, something I didn't even know. I realized that the next day, but I saw the pictures in the newspapers. I didn't even know I did it. And then afterwards, I'm done, and the people, it's so crazy. It goes through, everybody's cheering, and it's going well, but then I see him, and he's laying there with his eyes open. And I'm walking over to him, and they're hitting his face, and he's just, there's no movement whatsoever. And it takes about, I would say, at least a minute and a half. And a minute and a half waiting is a very long time. He gets up, they embrace him, they try to hold him up, he takes 2 steps, he crashes again. Then a minute later or so, he stands up again, he crashes again, they got the stretcher and they got this guy out because something was wrong. Now, at that moment, people started freaking cheering for me. I mean, when I went back, I always tell it, I felt like the president. There was a couple with a baby. Don't ask me what they do with the baby at the event, but they asked me if I could hold the baby. So I'm holding the baby, I'm pointing at people. I felt like, you know, I felt it was really cool. I remember flexing for the people. Who would do that, right? The first time. Anyway, the people were carrying me. It was awesome. So the next day, I'm walking on the street, and like one every 10, 1 every 15 people start bowing to me. And I go, what is going on here? And it was so weird when they had the event. I mean, there's a lot of people that, I mean, everybody in Tokyo, like 1 in 15, that's pretty a lot. And then I passed a newspaper stand. And on the newspaper, the cover of the newspaper, there was me, a picture of me hanging in the air in the splits. Like I said, I didn't even remember doing that, but that now I realized. And underneath me was my opponent knocked out on the ground. I go, oh, okay, so they recognized me from that picture. I remember after that I spent a lot of money on telephone cards because I was calling home. I was very worried about my opponent because he didn't wake up. He came out of it, fell back, came out of it, fell back. So I told my wife, I said, listen, if he's not going to come out, this is it. I don't want to do this anymore. He was a really nice guy. He came to introduce himself. He was a good guy. Thankfully, he came out before I left. So that was nice on the flight home that I knew at least he was okay. He actually became a really close friend of mine, Aji. His name was Yanagisawa, but a lot of people called him Aji. He was my shortest fight in Pancras, and then in a rematch, he was my longest fight in Pancras. 27 minutes. Here, look at my hand. I broke my hand on the very first punch. I hit him, even though with a palm strike, and I was, you know, you flex your hand at the very end when you connect, but he shot in. So suddenly my hand is still relaxed here, hits the top of his skull, paf, and I break my hand. So that fight, I beat him, I submitted him 5 times. 5 times was the maximum amount of time that you could submit him. I got to talk about this because now you're going to go, what is this? What's going on here? Okay, so Pancras had different rules. The Pancras rules were kind of made for the Japanese fighter. So the Japanese fighters were really good on the ground, not as good on their feet. So what they said is, okay, shoes on, shin guards on, knee protection on. So that will dampen everything. But shoes are very good for leg locks. I mean, they catch you in a heel hook, an inverted heel hook, toe hold, whatever you've got. It's very hard to escape because the shoe gives a lot of traction. Then the hands, it's really nice when you don't wear gloves. So open hand strikes to the face, close to the body, but with free hands, it's much easier to go for chokes. Right, so it was all adapted to them. A funny side note, by the way, when I left Pancras, 3 months after I left, they did unified rules just like everybody else in Japan, in the world. It was almost like they were waiting for me to leave the organization, and suddenly it was closed fist. It was crazy. So open hand strikes, and you're fighting with shin pads and shoes on. Really weird. Then they had this really weird / pro wrestling rules. So for instance, if somebody took me down and it gets me in a choke, but I'm laying close to the rope, either I can touch the rope with my hands or my feet, they're going to have to let go. But that will give me a lost point, same as an 8 count. So imagine the fight goes a distance, a half an hour fight, and imagine I grabbed the rope once, he never grabbed the rope, I'm going to lose. Or I got dropped once, and he never got dropped, I lose. You see, that's the same as an 8 count, same as a lost point. Now, a lot of people, they say, oh, these are BS rules. No, you have to understand this. From pancreas, the small organization pancreas we had, I believe we had 8 or 9 UFC champions in a very short amount of time. And the reason is because of these rules. And I'm going to tell you why. For instance, with me, if you look at my record, I got 14 submissions and 11 knockouts in pancreas and 3 decisions, right? But if you look at my record, I submitted 53 times somebody. What I'm saying is this. Normally, you fight, I get somebody in a submission, fight is over. Not in pancreas. In pancreas, you get him in a submission. If he can touch the rope, you have to let him go. You restart on the back of your feet and you fight a second time. So you will have way more ring time while in your fighting career than another person, because otherwise the fight would have been over. Now you're going to say, okay, we have to fight more strategically as well. Because imagine if I want to go for a submission on the person, I have to drag him to the center of the ring, because then he can't grab the ropes. But once he's in the center of the ring, and for instance, I go for an armbar and he escapes the armbar, and now he's in my guard, now I'm in a worse position. He's still in my guard. But what I'm trying to say is that you have to fight different. You have to know where you are at all times. But because of the 8 counts and because of those restarts of the fights, all these fighters, they had way more ring time. I mean, Guy Metzger became a champion. Frank Shamrock became a champion. Maurice Smith became a champion. Ken Shamrock became a champion. Frank Shamrock. But I mean, there's a lot of UFC guys. Myself became a UFC champion. Sammy Shield, he didn't fight in UFC, but he fought in the Pride Fighting Championships later. But you see, there's a lot of guys that fought in pancreas. Evan Tanner became a UFC champion. And they came all from that organization pancreas. So that's what I believe it's a really good way. I always actually thought about bringing it back. I think, imagine bringing pancreas back. Maybe you give it a different name. But those rules, instead of amateur rules, do those rules. Because you get injured less, everything works better, and you have a lot of ring time. And you have to know, you have to fight strategically, because you have to know at all times where you are in the ring. So those rules, I truly believe, made all these UFC champions. And the first fight, that was the first fight, and we're going to look at the very first right now, and I'm going to talk about it. And here I am walking down the stairs. Look at me. Hey, man, I'm young. I got no wrinkles, no hair growing out of my ears. It's amazing. Look at those pants. Those pants, they hated those pants. Like the third fight, they gave me a whole new outfit. And they said, please wear that. Do not wear your lucky pants anymore. Those were my lucky pants. But they're all banged up. They used to be very dark purple. And as you can see right now, they look pink. Completely different. We're waiting for my opponent. Take a little sip of water there. All right, relaxing, see what's up. And there we have my opponent, Ryushi Yanagisawa, or what makes it much more easier, simply Aji. He actually lived with my mom and dad for like 4 weeks preparing for a fight in Holland, and my mother treated him the same as she treated me, so he really enjoyed it. And like I said before, we became friends. He's a really nice guy. All right, this is the moment. It's so weird what goes through your mind, you know. It's chaotic. You try to act like you're complete calm, but inside, like I said, you have those voices. One crazy one and one relaxed one. Listen to the relaxed one. That's what I always say. You already saw me there making a few liver shots, so it was already in my head to maybe to go to the body. All right. Referee patting us down. No razor blades hidden somewhere. Nope. Man, it's crazy. I can almost smell the place right now. It's weird how the mind works. And here we go, shaking hands. I believe he starts, yeah, low kick. Oh, look at that check. Never did that in my life. That check, whoop, pow. That's the big punch. You see, I'm looking at him for a few seconds there, like 2 seconds. Gave him a little look. Unfortunately, they don't show me now walking back to the ring, or to the corner. But you see there, I was hanging there, acting like I was all calm. And now I had to wrap it up. There's the liver kick, there's the punch, and there's the knee to the face. Later on, we will see this in slow motion as well, because this went a little bit too fast. And this was it. This is why I got very scared. You know, there was no movement with him. There's the jump. You know, the jump that I completely forgot I did, which I figured out the next day, as I told you before, when I was walking on the street and I saw it in the newspaper. That's my manager there, Clovis Dupre, a crazy Frenchman. I'm still in contact with him, very nice guy, the guy there with the stash. I was trying to massage the back of his neck there. But I believe the referee now is going to come and get me. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, you see, as you can see, it was not good. All right, there's the referee. He's going to pull me away from the fighter. People going crazy. Yeah, still hard. It's weird how that is, and especially after we became friends, you know, it's hard to watch. See, now he crashes again. Yeah, that happened 2 more times, and eventually, you see, I go again to massage his neck. I tell them, I said, massage his neck. He needs the blood flow go, you know, to the brain. Oof. But you know, I'm a happy man. Looking, flexing, look at me. The things you do when you're young, right? Look, I believe I'm going to do like a muscle pose now somewhere here. Let me see. Yeah, that's right. Look, hey, flex, look at my biceps. Oh, double flex, why not? And there we go. Let's take a look at the replays now, the slow motion. Here we go. High kick start off, whoop. As soon as I plant my foot, push off, pow. That's where the power comes from. Palm strike. You see, give him a beat. Look at him. Make sure you make eye contact. Nonchalant in the corner, walking back. Look, the slow, like shaking your legs, like I don't care. Really weird, because your mind is going crazy at that moment. Kick to the body, bring the hand down. There's another palm strike, and now that knee went to the face as well. And that was all she wrote. That was it. And that was it. How crazy is this, right? Because I took that very first fight, that's why I'm here right now talking about it. I mean, that set my whole career path. I had no clue. Imagine, I always think about this. You know, imagine somebody would have come to me when I was like 12 years old and everybody was bullying me. And he said, don't worry about it. You're going to be a world champion in Japan, then you're going to go to the UFC. You don't know what it is right now, but it's cage fighting. Yeah, you're going to be the world champion there. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame. I would have gone like, oh, dude, okay, move. You're crazy. Go away. But it happened. It's so weird how suddenly your life can completely change by simply picking up a phone and going to a place that they asked you to go to. So that was my very first fight. There's a lot more fighting to come. There's a lot more craziness to come, because that's, again, Planet Boss. Try to do this, like I said, 1 forward, 1 backwards. It's not easy, but I can do it, of course, because I'm El Guapo. And that means I'm the handsome. Godspeed. I will see you next time.